there, my name is Shelly Weir, and welcome to our next episode of CEO Conversations. I am thrilled to be joined today with my new and dear friend Chandu from Miles Education. We're going to be talking about one of the most prevalent topics of the profession right now, which of course is the talent shortage that we are all facing, and certainly Florida is no stranger to the shortage that we are facing. Let me just read a brief biography and then we'll get into the heart of today's conversation and why Miles can be a fantastic solution provider for our firms and organizations across Florida. So Chandu has extensive experience, including a background in public accounting, working at our other dear friends at PwC, and he currently serves as Vice President of Miles Education. His dedication lies in building strong relationships with U.S. public accounting firms, state CPA societies like ourselves, and global accounting alliances. Miles is leading the charge in tackling the U.S. accounting shortage through innovative STEM-driven solutions such as the Miles U.S. Pathway, driving transformation in the field. Chandu, thank you so much for coming to Florida today. And I wish that we had a little bit better Florida weather. It's kind of gray and overcast and a little chillier than what we typically see this time of year, but hopefully you've enjoyed your time in Florida thus far.
Totally enjoyed. Thanks so much, Shelly, for having me here. And it's such an honor to be doing this podcast with you. Looking forward to it.
Definitely. And I'll tell you, we'll bring you back in maybe January when it's a perfect 75-degree sunny day. How about that?
Absolutely. Would love that. Thank you.
Sounds good. Well, first, let's talk a little bit about Miles Education. So for our members across the state that are working in either public accounting or in business and industry, especially for our managing partners and HR folks, tell us a little bit about who is Miles and what are you guys doing and how have you devised this solution?
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, first of all, for that. That's an amazing question. First, we need to set that context. So what we do is we curate the talent of CPA candidates that aspire to come into the US based on 3 parameters. One is their spoken English skills. Number 2, written English skills. And more importantly, 3, they should have relevant work experience in one of the domains. It could be accounting or audit or tax. Predominantly, all our candidates that we curate and we've brought in since last year, they're all experienced candidates having an average of about 4.5 years of work experience in one or a combination of these 3 domains. Now, they become a nice talent pool even for universities in the US who are talking about their enrollments getting tapered. So they become something similar to an MBA cohort, but coming in for the Masters in Accounting programs in these universities.
And I love what you're doing with the universities, which is so on brand and on topic for the moment for the profession. You're actually working with these universities to help infuse their accounting and their data analytics programs. Shout out to Mark Taylor and the USF Bulls. They've already done a great job of this here in Florida, and help to combine those things so that it's really a STEM-focused education. And then explain to our listeners, how does having this STEM focus, if you will, and designation help them in the talent pool issue in terms of accessing these students to be hired at their firms?
Absolutely. So what STEM does is, for the international candidates, of course, for everybody, STEM is a way to go today in the traditional MS in accounting graduation program. Even for domestic candidates, upskilling is a very important thing when it comes to updating the technology-related, courses such as Power BI or Tableau or data wrangling, data mining. These are all papers that get added into traditional accounting. But what's more important is when we have a traditional accounting graduation program designated with STEM, we are able to bring in international candidates and get them a 3 years work permit in the US, whereas traditional accounting without a STEM designate always implied for international candidates only with a 1-year work permit. So it was never interesting for either the candidates or for the employers to have someone work with them just for 1 year, vis-a-vis 3 years. So this is really making that uniqueness. So there we call leveraging STEM as our unique solution, because we are first to do this in the US. And again, like you rightly mentioned, Mark Taylor, he's been a champion for us there.
Yeah. So I love this. You're taking Access as an exam prep provider in India, you have access to thousands of students that are looking
Yes.
to become certified as CPAs or CMAs or
That's
CGMAs in some cases, right?
yes, yes, yes.
And you're helping to get them prepared for the exam. You're working with employers in India. Many of them come with several years of work
Yes.
experience. You're bringing those students here to the US where they're entering master's programs that help them in both accounting and data analytics.
Perfect.
And by doing that,
Yeah.
that also helps to extend their work visa time to
Exactly.
be able to be here for 3 years. And then, of course, once they get hired, that opens up other lanes of opportunities from a
Absolutely.
visa
Absolutely.
perspective.
By adding
Fantastic.
data analytics paper, Shelly, what happens is the T of STEM, that is the
Right.
technology of STEM,
Mhm.
gets added, and that's how STEM gets designated for a traditional accounting graduation program.
Absolutely. Well, and as our members hopefully know, but if you don't, we, alongside AICPA and our fellow state societies across the country, have been working for about the past year plus or so to try to get accounting officially designated at the federal level under that T vertical, that technology vertical, which, if we are successful, in addition to all of the great things that we're talking about here today with Miles, it will open up a lot of lanes of opportunity for us, specifically in the K through 12 space, to have a greater infusion of accounting career awareness programs in middle school and high school, more curriculum programs in middle schools and high schools, and even to some degree elementary schools as well, because I don't know about you. My little ones have already decided, even in second grade, what they want to be when they grow up.
Wow.
So the
Are they in
earlier,
accounting?
I'm trying, trust me, I'm working on that. If I can get one of my two, I feel like I've done my job.
Sure.
Right?
Drops in the ocean.
Exactly right. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about what you do and a little bit of how you do it. Let's talk now about a little bit of the process. So
Yeah.
let's just take, for example, we'll use USF for an example again. You've got maybe 20 students that are going to USF, and now they are looking for jobs from
Right.
firms across Florida. Talk a little bit about the process in
Sure.
terms of the students and the firms.
Absolutely. So as we spoke, right? So what happens is there are three main stakeholders in this entire US pathway. One, you have the international aspiring accounting candidates, CPA candidates who want to live their American dream. The second stakeholder being an important stakeholder, which is the universities, which helps us, bring candidates using the student visa. Third stakeholder, the most important one again, being the ones who want to employ, which are the public accounting firms or corporations. Now, we are trying to bring all these three together, and that convergence point is what we are calling the US Pathway Solution from Miles. Now, if you ask about the process of interviewing, in August, we have brought in 280 candidates. They're all aspiring CPA candidates. A good number of them are also CPA qualified, but there is also a vast number of candidates who are aspiring to do the CPA, but they have come into the US with all the exam credit eligibilities, waiting to complete their masters in accounting. And when they join the firm, they will resume the CPA examination. Now, talking about the interview process, we have some really nice processes where we have a call called a show and tell call. We will take this firm on a Zoom call, and we will bring in the right stakeholders from our end who are in touch with every candidate. We will show the experience breakup as well as the qualification, the educational qualification in details to the firm. And the moment the firm chooses out of 180 candidates that are ready to be interviewed now, we would share these resumes based on that show and tell's feedback from the firm, and we share the resume. We will not intervene in their interview process, but we completely align and respect the firm's interview process. But we will handhold the firms by coordinating even for the interview process. It could be 1 or 2 or 3 rounds. All of this happens on Zoom. And when this happens is more important. Right now, August, when these candidates have come in, firms have already grabbed about 140 to 150 candidates out of the 280 that have come in. Yet, there are another 130 candidates maybe who are waiting to be interviewed. So all these interviews, as we are doing this show right now, there are interviews happening virtually between candidates and the firms. These interviews would happen within a week or 2, and then the firms select and release the offers. So we encourage firms to secure these candidates on a first come first basis, because Our process is also pretty unique and strong in terms of we do not believe in floating a same candidate CV to multiple firms parallelly. We keep them for one firm and then we have a feedback from the firm. Let's say out of 10, 7 of them are wanting to be interviewed by a firm. The remaining 3, only after hearing from the firm that they do not want to interview, will we even move them to another firm for an interview process. So that's the way internally we control so that firms and candidates and us don't keep playing the musical chair. And once the interview is done and the firms release the offer letters, they bid a temporary goodbye until May 2024 when the candidates graduate from the program. And in June, the firm is going to have these candidates joining them. So that's the timeline, to be precise.
Wonderful. And I love that you're also helping to, not in a bad way, but hold the hands of the students through the interview process, but also with the appropriate paperwork and things of that nature that they need to do.
Absolutely. So, Shelly, what happens is these candidates come in as students. So they have a visa called F1 visa. The moment they finish their graduation, the visa documentation needs to convert into something called OPT, which is optional practical training. Training is just nomenclature, but they become W2 employees of firms. So the way we handhold is we work with the student, the college, that is the university, and also they in turn work with the immigration, USCIS. These are the 3 stakeholders who work together and we get the OPT authorization for 3 years. So firms do not have to worry about the visa formalities for the first 3 years. We've got them covered. It's only really beyond the 3 years if the employer wants to retain, then the employer is encouraged that they start hitting the H1B lottery from year 1 onwards.
Wonderful.
And one more point, Shelly, while we are talking about hand-holding candidates, right? We don't just help them with visa or we don't just put them in universities. We also help them continuously. During this 1-year period, there will be hours and hours of boot camp training that is given to these candidates virtually because Miles being a training company at our heart of operations, we do a lot of US GAAP, US tax, and US audit related boot camps. And we also add a lot of soft skills training, which is essential from the US parlance.
So important.
And we also add cross-culture training, right from the smallest things like how you shake hands or how you eat with a fork and a knife. So these are all things that some of the candidates may not know because back in India, that may not be the culture. But why I'm saying this is we add attention to these details to ensure that the transition for them into a firm is smooth. Also bear in mind, these guys are going to be in the US, in the universities for a 1-year period. So in terms of their speaking style, culturally, that integration happens well, even before they come and join the firms.
No question. And it's so important that you're doing that because if they don't have those cultural skills and those soft skills, the technical skills is an important piece. But the other parts are equally, if not more, important. Well, that's a good segue. Can you give maybe a short description of the type of candidate that typically comes over from Miles? Their work experience, their work ethic, their background, just so our member employers can hear.
Great question. So that makes all the difference here, Shelly, with this model. Our candidates all, if you put together, the average work experience is about 4.5 years. You find a spectrum of candidates who have maybe 1 year, 1.5 years of experience. All the way, you will also find a spectrum of candidates having 10 years to 12 years of experience. But the larger portion of this cohort is sitting between 2 and 6 years of average work experience. It could be Big Four, it may not be Big Four, but public accounting is a major bucket from where we have resources. But there are also candidates working for Indian-based corporates or US-based corporates that have set shop in India, like a Coke or a Ford, as I mentioned. They may be doing US accounting or Indian accounting, US audit or Indian audit, US tax or Indian tax. But our focus is all primarily accounting, audit, tax, which is exactly what firms here need.
Which I think if I'm an employer listening to this, I'm going, oh my goodness, the toughest positions to fill for right now are those 1 to 3 year, 3 to 5 year positions. Absolutely. And so when you could bring folks that already have 4 years, let's say, of experience, 5 years of experience, and if I may, I hate to be presumptuous, but Tell us a little bit about their work ethic. I imagine they're
Yeah,
probably pretty used to working
yes.
long hours and what have you.
So back in India, we have uh, we do not have this 5-day work culture. Back in
Right.
India, we are all used to working 6 days, so Monday through Saturday.
Mhm.
And from my own experience, I can say, and a lot of public accounting folks that I see and work with in India, we typically work between 10 and 12 hours every day, and it's a 6-day week. So if you're looking at, we are not talking about season, even a non-season is 60 hours of working for us. And our candidates come with really strong work ethics. If a laptop is given to them in front of Excel sheets, they are going to be having the best of their times. And we are passionate about accounting, so that much can be said. And also the other thing, right? So if you look at their salary structures, they are coming in at positions at staff level and at staff level salaries. But for candidates, for employers, if you look at, they're getting a matured set of
Right.
candidates with experience at staff level position, which makes it very interesting for firms, because firms would not have to now deploy so many number of hours that they would otherwise incur towards training and developing these employees before these guys can even get client facing, client ready. You know, so our guys will be like ready to hit the ground from day 3 or day 7, I would say.
Amazing.
So that makes the model all the more unique, primarily owing to the experience that the candidates bring to the table.
Well, it is. It's such a unique model, and kudos to you all for thinking outside the box, for taking a look at the assets that you have in India, and I almost think of it as onshoring, right?
It is onshoring.
We
We are
talk a lot
bringing
about
warm
offshoring.
bodies. So the world here is today talking about offshoring and outsourcing. You're right. It's onshoring. We are bringing people to your offices in your US locations. You could deploy them in your office or your client offices, which is really the need of the hour. Not everything can be done using offshoring and outsourcing. It is an important strategy firms should have. We have nothing against it, but you cannot do away with people. There are a lot of small and mid-sized firms here that have small and mid-sized clientele, which wants that physical touch and feel.
No question about it. As you know, I go out and I visit our firms across the state all the time, and I'm seeing more and more the desire and the need and the client demand of bringing folks back in person, back to the office, and going out and visiting them. Share quickly how many folks and students and job applicants, if you will, Miles will be bringing to the country next year.
Oh, amazing. So last year, I'll just give a quick background to this. So last year we brought in 22 candidates, and most of them were placed with RSM US. Remaining got placed with Chandrasheker, GT, and Deloitte. This year we've brought in 280 candidates, about 275 candidates, and 140 placed. And now we are seeing a lot of encouragement, again, RSM and a few other large firms scaling this up. We are bringing in 300 more students in Jan 2024 who will be ready to join firms from Jan 2025. That is perfect for the tax season then. And the scale up is happening in June. We are talking about July 2023. That is July 2024 next year. We are bringing in 3,400 candidates. That's really the number.
Amazing.
It's a big number. We are not only looking at India as a source for this pipeline. We are looking at 6 to 7 different countries, including African countries, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka. So we're working parallelly. I have colleagues working in those places to identify and curate the right pool. Again, spoken English is a must, non-negotiable. Written English is a must. They should have some experience in accounting, audit, and tax. So.
Amazing. And I know we talked a little bit today too, that while RSM was one of the first firms, who's a great partner of ours as well, to catch on to this, you've placed people in a lot of small, medium, and regional firms as well. So it really does run the gamut and folks all across the country.
Absolutely. So we're working very closely with a lot of alliances. And these alliances such as BDO or Allineal Global or RSM or Moore North America, they provide us that platform to be able to get connected with firms of mid-size as well as small size as well. And which is where actually today a lot of accountant shortage is being screened. If you look at the large firms, there are infrastructures large firms have already got in place in India as well as Philippines. So they still want accountants in the office, but they may not take at the really largest scale. We are not talking in hundreds, but If you're looking at smaller firms, they may take 2 or 5 candidates
Sure.
every 6 months,
Mhm.
but there are 2,000 firms out there in that region, in that segment.
Right.
So which is where we are able to see tremendous success. When I'm saying we have placed 130, I would say about 70 to 80 of these candidates got placed with small to mid-sized segments, and our candidates are location agnostic. So there are candidates who are going to locations such as Baraboo, Nebraska, and we have candidates going to San Francisco and the Washingtons of the world as well.
And soon to be lots of cities in Florida.
Absolutely, absolutely. With your support, with your blessing there. Shelly.
Absolutely. Well, Chandu, again, I can't thank you enough. I know that our members are going to have a lot of questions wanting to get in touch with you and the rest of the Miles team to learn more and find out how they can get involved. What is the best way for them to do that?
I can give my email ID right here.
Sure, go ahead.
CHANDU, Chandu, CHANDU @mileseducation.com.
Wonderful. And if you have any trouble getting in touch, please feel free, team, to, as always, email me direct, Shelly, Shelly, @ficpa.org, and follow both Chandu and I on LinkedIn, and you can certainly message us both there directly as well. Chandu, thank you again. I can't wait to see you in Florida next, and I am just eager to see all of these and meet all of these amazing students and
Absolutely.
get to know them a bit more, and wishing you our very best and happy holidays.
Shelly,
well.
I must thank you for your time. You are a very busy person. Despite that, you're somehow culling out time for this amazing opportunity. It was a pleasure talking to you.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next episode of CEO Conversations. Be safe and be well.